And I think we are live. Super. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Madalina Andrei, GMS, your host, former Global Mobility Coordinator, currently Service Provider Relationship Manager with xpath.global, the first SaaS-enabled marketplace ecosystem in the global mobility sector. This is our fifth LinkedIn live series from the xpath.NEXUS series, which has its main goal to become a place where we can share best practices in our industry, we can learn from one another, and most importantly, grow together. This episode is truly a special one as it marks the beginning of the Nexus series aimed at corporate clients' perspectives. And we will try and squeeze in the next 30 minutes amazing insights on global mobility matters. And for this, I will have by my side my honored guest, Pratik Karlekar, who is the head of the UK and Europe Immigration Department in Tech Mahindra. He is the leader of all of everything regarding inbound and outbound mobility, has extensive experience in managing service providers relations, vendor performance reviews, selection processes, and he's responsible for achieving mobility cost efficiencies across the entire region. For those of you who still need some details on Tech Mahindra or who they are, and I find it hard to believe though, they are a renowned Indian multinational award for 2021. They received the Gold Stevie Award for innovative use of HR technology, and they are among India's first 25 best companies to work for in 2020. Thank you again very much for being with us, for joining us, for watching us. Please feel free to address any questions you might have for Pratik. I'm sure there will be some questions as well. We really want our viewers to leave with practical information after this session, information that would help them further in their professional daily activities later on. I will do my best and stick with my round of questions, but afterwards I will take all your questions coming from your side and have them answered perhaps in a different format, but that will be available really soon. Good afternoon, Pratik.
Good afternoon.
Thanks a lot for being my guest today. It's such a pleasure to have you by my side. I don't have an operational role anymore, right? As you might know me. So we'll discuss other matters today aside from immigration compliance and work permits necessarily. But sure. it's always a great pleasure to talk to you, as you're one of the most amazing professional I know in the global mobility sector, with great insights and a great business acumen, right?
Thank you, Madalina, for that introduction, and xpath.global for having me here. I really appreciate you for inviting me on this subject. At the outset, I hope all our viewers, partners, peers are all safe and sound wherever they are. They are keeping the necessary government guidelines to stay away and remain healthy. Few disclaimers before I proceed further. With all due respect,
please.
To you and xpath.global.
Of course, please.
All the views and opinions which we will be discussing in this session would be based on my personal experiences, and this does not carry any precedences or any status quo of current corporate structure or the situation at Tech Mahindra.
Of course.
So yeah, so I would just like to have that clarified, but lovely to have been here. So let's begin.
Super. Thanks a lot, Pratik. We'll start with a more general question regarding the GM function as a whole, right? Because as immigration processes, they're not some standalone processes totally separated from everything else, right? They have great impact further on into social security, into labor law, into taxation matters. And we know and we feel that there is a real need for a 360-degree overview and understanding of the entire process. My question now would be, how do you see our global mobility industry, well, as far as it's related to the local experts and the local specialists and professionals that are supporting you as a corporate client? Which currently is extremely fragmented. I'm thinking that we can actually call it like a knowledge fracture somehow, meaning that there are law firms and law companies that only deal with corporate immigration and nothing else. We have separate tax advisory companies that only have like taxation matters, other consultancy businesses that have only social security and labor law advisory. And I remember in our discussion, you were telling me at some point about a holistic approach, which yes. I really love.
Yes, yes, of course. And I think that's a good question. And I think the time has come, probably though it was never now. It was always there to collaborate more amongst all key pillars, I would say, of the global mobility industry. Only immigration doesn't mean it's a global mobility industry. It has got a lot of, although I would say it could be the epicenter of the entire transactions or the operations and even the compliance for that matter, because most of the time we learn the hard way by way of getting the RFEs or by way of getting some surprises from the authorities. But what I think personally is, since it's one of the largest industries or service industries today, which is spanning across the continents, and today's export-oriented businesses would never succeed without involvement of a perfect model, or I would say the in-depth involvement of global mobility professionals into their businesses. Connecting the dots of immigration, taxation, social security, labor laws would always be important for success of any expat's life cycle.
Correct.
I would say, because most of the time I've observed personally that the one specialist would end up his checklist or his roadmap with the state plan at the end of achieving his key result areas, such as work permit approval. And once the work permit is approved, or even the visa is stamped on the passport, I personally have never seen the next guidance. Now, it could be a little bit crossing the line to reach out the cross functions areas of expertise. For example, social security risk declarations or labor law declarations, or keeping certain records on the employers as well as employee side. And reporting duties of individual as well as the corporates or the employees for that matter. So those are the real, I would say, beginning of the expat life at a host country. And once somebody enters into that host country, totally new to the language, the culture, to the locations, to the people around, the real struggle starts from there for settling in. And I know some of our peers are offering settling in services. That's great. But it's all in fragmented, as you said rightly. It's kind of a knowledge fracture wherein we won't expect much.
And it's a lot of hassle to connect all the dots, right? It's
definitely
huge. It's a huge endeavor to do that as a professional.
Yes, but I think it just
put
the
everything.
Heads up. Yeah, just a heads up. For example, let's say you're applying for a social security certificate or exemption at your home country. Now, which particular article is important for from immigration's perspective as well as from labor law perspective to take on and submit the application, get that right in the first step itself, rather than getting the surprising request for evidence or query from the labor office at the time of renewal, which is could be 1 year or 2 years down the line, at the end of the expiry of the current work permit. So that's just one of the examples. I've seen certain countries in the European region particularly asking for the evidences of the entire insurance coverage for the entire expat life in the country when you apply for next application of renewal, or you apply for family reunion applications. So record keeping is one of the key important point wherein the customer can be given a good knowledge, share the best practices of the peers or the industry, how they are dealing with those kind of obligations from employer side. So I think it's always good to have at least a heads up as a part of your journey plan, or a kind of a milestone in your roadmap which you share with the customer, wherein after the work permit what happens, or after the entry into the country what happens, and how one should smoothly sail through these formalities while focusing on contributing more towards the economic objectives of the employer as well as individuals.
Do you believe in the future, perhaps the global mobility industry on the professional side of things, the local specialists, the local experts will be able to reach this holistic approach somehow? Because I'm thinking we're discussing at some point that perhaps, I mean, it might be highly necessary to have this profession taught in university, right? To have a specialization at university, a global mobility professional, to have insights and information and knowledge from different areas, so that you can actually have this achieve this 360-degree overview. Do you see it happening at some time in the future? At some point,
I think as the world is shrinking by day, and whether it's a current pandemic which is pushing us to pushing the borders to think innovatively, being something which we never thought of, something like a paperless visas, or something like the airline itself is taking the initiative to make sure the vaccination passports are embedded into their applications for enhanced experience of the customer. I think yes, there will be some time in the future which would have the specialist career, academic options given for who wants to make their career into global mobility industry, which will touch upon the various global practices. I know it's very dynamic. That's what keeping everybody, including myself, always on my toes and always keen on learning new latest updates and happenings around the best practices of the peers. That's how we learn from each other. But definitely that comes with the time and the connects and the engagements. If as you said rightly, I think there would be definitely in the near future something in specialization course.
Yeah, like a standalone specialization.
Yes.
Super. How do you see the current mobility trends from your perspective, right? So I'm thinking perhaps about the ratio between business travels and STAs, STAs and LTAs. What's your feeling? What trends do you see emerging, and what's your feeling about it, considering everything that happened internationally with the pandemic and everything? How do you think this affected the traditional trends that we were accustomed to?
Well, yeah, it would be easy, first of all, to understand the purpose behind all these BTs, STs, and LTs, because essentially it's all business driven. Aside to the leisure travel and more related to the relaxation, that's completely a travel and leisure industry, which is totally on the different mode right now. But yes, I see in the future more curtailment of the short-term travels, I would say, and the business travels, because
a decrease, you said, sorry.
So decrease in the in the short-term travel and the business travels, I would say, where either of these were essentially focused on more interaction, one-to-one, face-to-face meetings, discussions, understandings, attending exhibitions, seminars, those sort of more interface between people and larger crowds, which cannot be happen on remotely, right? So, but I would say that looking at the current situations across the world, and the government themselves are not too keen on opening up the economies straight away for the travel and people interface. I think that would be a little bit controlled in the next couple of years. But long-term travels are mostly based on contracts, and the SOWs and POs from the customers were expecting certain IT enhancements or certain business support from outsourced partners. So I think that would definitely continue. But yes, the volume depends on the economical conditions, how the eco boomers are actually supporting the IT agendas, the digitalization agendas of the customer. So it's all based on those economic factors as well.
But you expect overall the BTs to be reduced somehow, because I think it turned out that we can actually do without them.
Not without them, honestly, because yes, those are non-essentials so far, as the government and most of the countries have announced, and which is fair enough, because the tools and options such as this, as we are interacting now through video conferencings, are always cost effective, less risk or almost no risk, unless it is a data issue. And of course, it's most convenient for everybody, irrespective of the time zones, because you either are working from home or you are always available on another digital media.
Yeah. The usually, well, we all know immigration requirements, immigration processes. It's something we always have to keep an eye on, right, at all times, because regulations are changing and so on and so forth. But perhaps now more than ever, with the pandemic and working from, well, all the new rules in place, they're subject to change more than before, let's say. How do you make sure you get updated information at all times? Because sometimes the rules and the regulations are changing overnight, right? How do you make sure you have the most relevant and updated information at your disposal?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, because that's where the technology helps a lot, and of course, other than the people connect, because it's not only the business to business connect I engage into, but I also prefer to deal and discuss with the peers from the industry, with the similar size or the background what I come from, and then we brainstorm in terms of understanding and interpretation of those updates. Because sometimes it's a bit tricky when it comes for as simple as conducting your RT-PCR test before your travel. Now, certain updates only will talk about before the travel, but not before the flight time, 72 hours before the flight time. I'm just giving you an example. And it's very important for us to, first of all, understand exactly what is the update, and then interpret that into the easy way of making others understand, and then make it as an announcement or an advisory to the internet stakeholders. So keeping myself updated through various web pages, government sites, agencies, government partners, partners like you all, the country appointed selected vendors. So I always prefer to rely on the root source of the information, which is the government websites or the government announcements.
Did you feel it was quite a difficult period for you to gather all this information and to collect all the missing pieces and all the puzzle to create the puzzle all together in this period of time?
Considering the volumes and yes, the entire geo. Now, fortunately, in Europe, most of the EU-driven or the European Commission-driven directives are accepted across the region. So it's not always individual country-specific updates, but yes, for travel bans, for certain updates about the additional checks at the time of travel, the sudden announcement from the government without giving us enough time to even roll out the change internally. Yes.
Super.
It was challenging. Yes.
Thank you. It's funny because my colleague Elena asked the same question that I did a bit earlier. If I can ask Pratik if he considers that the mobility profession must be much more regulated, maybe in the universities, to cover the 360, the
yes,
overview, to have
definitely. I think it would be a very interesting subject. Yeah.
It would be a very interesting subject, and perhaps we can get together and create some lobby letters and push some push for this idea further.
Yes, definitely, because there is not always hard ways of learning, which most of us have gone through. I bet that quite a few learnings come from either the RFEs or from the queries or some pitfalls of some other functions wherein we try to do deep dive and we understand that, hey, it was just a little bit of extra attention to one or two paragraphs in the entire, even a government level agreements. So yes, I think that would definitely help.
Yeah. Super. The next question would be related to well, given all the above that we discussed about immigration processes and requirements that are changing, knowledge fractures, and so on and so forth. Towards them, right? Their knowledge, their customer service. What would be, broadly speaking, what would be that you're looking for?
See, in terms of the partner selections, we have certain protocols. But before we even touch upon the protocols, as I personally feel that the certain attributes that makes or that stands out or that would at least initiate the reliability factor is the communication and the clarity in that. Because I personally believe in spending at least 90-95% of my time in obtaining the clarity, and remaining 5% remain in just the decision making, and that process to follow internally. So I feel that communication is very, very important. Then extensive experience within the subject matter.
In the field.
Yes, in the field, and also the connects locally, because sometimes if for the layman or somebody who is not familiar with our industry nitty-gritties, it feels like it's just a documentation job wherein you get the documents, you verify those, and you submit.
And that's it. And that's it.
Yeah. So it's never like that. It's the verify is the game changer, right? So when you look at those documents and when you see in detail about what's mentioned, what's missing, whether it's a realistic a need of that expert and stuff like that. So it's very important for a global mobility professional to apply a 360-degree view, as we said in the beginning. But when it comes for the case management, the pre-filing compliance is equally important. That would also help the service provider to know in and out about the client, about the client's policies. What's the model they follow? Is it the cash model which they follow by just sending the expats and allowing them to go and choose their own accommodations or the locations? If it is, then what are the implications of staying outside the area, or which would be considered as work from home, however, which would need a compliance of reporting to the labor office, or which would be eventually impractical and look like it's subleasing or the extension of a customer staff, which is not allowed on perhaps certain types of permits. So it's very important for having that deep dive analysis, discussions, brainstorming to bring up with the X type of permits on the board, and then going ahead for filing. So that's what I was focusing more about, 90-95% on the clarity, and then 5% on the decision for taking your actions for going ahead or giving the further guidance to the corporate customer.
Thanks a lot, Pratik. Which somehow paves the way. Let's say to my next question, and please let the drum roll begin. Can you make like a pen portrait of an ideal professional expert, professional supplier?
See, I think based on my experience so far, I think
Of course.
and there are quite a few more experienced experts already might be attending and viewing this conversations. With all due respect, what I personally feel is it's not only sharing the checklist and governing the documents, but also to support or interact for the entire governance of the global mobility. So when I say the entire governance means it's not only about uh, giving a successful immigration application and enabling to travel, but also much before that, understanding our business model, what we want to achieve as a customer, and how long, what exactly we bring to the country or the host country, what value the host country brings it, because these are all important things to understand when you represent a corporate while you are going to submit applications to the government agencies. And if it's a new territory altogether, the government, local labor officers may not even know about our brand and what we do overall. So it's super critical for the caseworker, for the team to understand the customer much better.
First of all, understanding
First
the
of all,
customer.
that's very, very important. And second is about after knowing the customer need, how do we make sure that we offer options? Because I feel in our industry is plenty of options for anything and everything. It's there will always be multiple echoes for anything you ask for, right? So have you touched upon all possible options, right? So whether it's ICT EU directive about a short-term intra-corporate mobility, or whether it is after achieving that it's a long-term application from the host country, or whether it is utilizing the family visas for productive employment in the host country. Just few examples I thought of calling out. So one, working out a lot of options with the team in the house is really important. That's the second most important thing. And once all the options are worked out and it's touched upon from all angles, including social security aspects, the cost to the corporate, to the associates, the entire efficiency of this option, then only those should be selected and chosen further for actions on the ground. So I think these are a couple of features or unique attributes I would look forward.
So the answer, like, this can't be done, is not accepted.
Certainly, because these will come out today or tomorrow, right? At the time of renewals, or maybe at the time of repatriations, or time of severance, anything, right? So it's always good to be right at the first time after checking many more options.
Yeah, of course. And to end on a more personal note, Pratik, because we need to wrap it up. We're almost over. You've been a business developer, business development director, an executive in the travel industry, an HR executive, but for the past 16 years, you've been at the head of UK and Europe Immigration Department in Tech Mahindra. What exactly attracted you to this side of business, to the global mobility sector, and what kept you? What made you stay? What's so interesting about it?
So I think the dynamic nature of our industry, because it's not only one facet, that's immigration, but it's there are many more, right? And that can either break or make each other. So it's always linked, so much linked to each other. So that's always a huge scope for learning. And
all the time.
Yes, and I was privileged to handle multiple tasks, multiple roles, profiles, and those kept me engaged so much that I kept on enjoying every day. Aside to that, I think personally, I feel when we work into such a huge industry and the background, we always talk about bringing the talent gaps. So I'm happy to bridge talent gaps between one part of the world to another. And things are really changing, and I've seen that it's really amazing journey so far, and the way the Western world is now looking at the Eastern world, it's completely changed paradigm today.
Yeah, totally. So the excitement comes from the source of learning that this profession actually has to offer all the time.
Definitely, yes, and the way the governments, the authorities are looking at it's more welcoming, featured than questioning, because I think everybody today has realized that yes, the unique, the talent, the need are really fulfilled, by certain set of individuals from other part of the world as well.
Yeah, super. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a million, Pratik, for taking the time to join us, and thank you very much for all the insights that you have shared with us. It was a great session, and I would like to thank everybody who's been watching us, and well, for being with us.
Thank you, Madalina. Thank you, Xpath Global, for having me here.
Thank you, Pratik, and talk to you soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.